Alright. Let's see if we can't find the stream. Shouldn't be too far away. Channel. There's a stream there. Party audio is working as it should. Streams up, chats up, we're all good to go. Apologies folks for the late start. Had a fairly decent sized kerfuffle in terms of working out who was the host to this lobby. But we eventually got it all sorted. We are 12 minutes late, but we're about to get underway. No, we're not. Something's happening. Joining the lobby might be a little bit later. Hopefully we don't have to wait for too long. Hopefully we've already used up 13 minutes. When we should have started, we should be towards the final part of qualifying. It seems that the drivers are now readying up again. So once the clock reaches 0 and the screen cuts to black, I'll start the intro as per normal. Look forward to this race here at Imola. Hello everyone and welcome to round 14 of the AM1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm Lane Evergam, your commentator for this event, and today we're racing at Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Opened in 1953, the circuit more commonly known as Imola is regarded by many as one of the most iconic racetracks in the world of Formula One. It's a proper, old-fashioned driver's circuit, similar to that of Suzuka and Monaco, where a driver's focus and discipline is put to the test. The circuit has evolved somewhat over the years, but it's retained its original style. The modern-day layout measures up at 3.1 miles. It consists of 19 corners and a single DRS zone that heads down the main straight into the prime overtaking spot of Variante Tamburello, the circuit's iconic opening chicane. The main technical areas of the circuit are located in the middle sector, with drivers having to tackle corners such as Piratella and of course the ever formidable complex of Acqua Minerale. To add on top of that, these areas will have their difficulty amplified thanks to the terrible curve physics of the F122 game. So don't be too surprised if we see drivers spin out through these sections as well as several more. Now, with qualifying about to begin, get through the news. Go through the news from what happened in the previous round in Hungary. I say previous round because we didn't race last week. We were meant to be racing over at Abu Dhabi at Yas Marina Circuit, but the attendance was so poor that the race had to be postponed. It's been moved till after the Brazilian Grand Prix and will become the final round, although the date that it takes place is the 12th of June, and that's only a day before F123 releases, so the likelihood that we're going to have a high attendance for the final round at Abu Dhabi is quite low, but we'll see what happens anyway. From what I've gathered from the previous round, there were no penalties dished out by the stewards. As a result, the final finishing positions from that race remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, it's Vermeulen who's leading the way on 197 points, with Barmer in P2 just 1 point behind on 196. Unfortunately, though, for our defending Drivers' Champion, he's not here for today's race. Apparently, he's had some sort of internet issue where he's been completely disconnected from it, so he's unable to attend today's race, which is incredibly unfortunate and does take a massive blow in his championship hopes. Next is Darth Vader on 90 points, followed by Electric Blade on 78, then Cam Tizzle on 71. And Bursey on 53, Stubbly on 52, Switchback on 39, Elite Game Boy on 34, Saint rounds out the top 10 on 20 points. In the Constructors, Ferrari are leading the way on 265, followed by Red Bull on 260, just 5 points separating the top two in the Constructors. Next is Alpine on 149, followed by Haas on 144. Williams complete the top 5 on 106, followed by McLaren on 89, Aston Martin on 49, Alfa Romeo on 43, AlphaTauri on 38, and Mercedes at the bottom of the table on 25 points. But that's it in terms of news. We can now focus on this qualifying session, as Schulz here is on a flying lap, making his way through Variante Villeneuve, then up towards the Tosa hairpin, turn 7 on the racetrack. Schulz shifts up to third gear, bit of a poor exit as he wiggles out of the corner, but most importantly he doesn't spin out and put it into the barrier. Now making his way through Piratella. It's definitely one of the more tricky areas of the racetrack, Piratella. Turns 9 and 10. Very easy to understeer wide past the apex of turn 9. Use too much curb on the outside and invalidate a flying lap. Now we make our way through Variante Alta. Turns 14 and 15 on the racetrack. And down the hill through the final sector he goes. No, getting ready. Harris getting ready for a lap. Tell you what, we might ride on board here with Harris. Give you a full guided tour lap of this legendary Imola circuit. Up towards turn 1, this little left-hand kick. Up towards Variante Tamburello. Turns 2, 3 and 4 on the racetrack. Down to 4th gear, back on the power. Hitting in 4th, up to 5th, up to 6th gear. Exiting the opening chicane. He'll now make his way into Variante Villeneuve. From 5 and 6, it completely misses the apex at turn 6. Now around the Tosa hairpin, and again, the apex by some margin. Get a bit closer. The inside of both turn 6 and turn 7. Out of turn 8, now around turn 9, Piratella. Down the hill through turn 10. Then towards Aqua Minerale. In 7th gear, he's in 7 through turn 11. Down to 3rd gear through turn 12. Up through the tricky left-hander of turn 13. He makes his way onto the back straightaway and into Variante Alta, the highest part of the racetrack. Tidy exit out of turn 15. He make his way down the hill towards the right-hand kick of turn 16, and then into the final technical area of the racetrack, Ravazza, turn 17 and 18 on the racetrack. Well, now he'll make his way back onto the main stretch. He'll open DRS, head around the final corner, and set a 17.8. Goes slowest of all so far. No name, not on a flying lap. We got Vermeulen on a fly, making his way down the back straightaway into Variante Alta, down to 4th gear, clobbering over the curbs, touring car style through the chicane. He'll now make his way through the final part of the lap. Greg Dempsey getting well out of the way, so he's evidently bailed on his flying lap. Go back to Vermeulen then, who makes his way through Ravazza, out of turn 18 and down the main straightaway up towards the line. He'll open DRS and cross said line to set a 15.895. Takes provisional pole position here at Imola. Speaking of which, should probably note, in real life Formula 1, it's sad to hear that the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix will not take place, thanks to the amount of flash flooding that has happened in the Imola region. So, a bit disappointing for us Formula 1 fans. Hopefully everyone within the town itself is A-OK. As an Australian, we're well accustomed to flash flooding. Over here, when it rains, it pours. And it pours for a very long time. I know what flash flooding is all about. It's not fun at all. So hopefully everybody's okay. Vermeulen not on a flying lap. Johnny Damon is up by 0.8 of a second. He's on the medium compound tyre for whatever reason. He's deciding to use a set here in qualifying. He switched off the battery as well. He wasn't using any there. Seems that the lead Game Boy is making his way through the middle sector, out of the Tosa hairpin, then climbing up the hill towards turn 8, and more importantly, Piratella. Bring it down from 7th gear, down to 5th gear, back on the power, and invalidates the lap. That's what I mean. It's so easy to understeer after the apex at turn 9. Especially if you're really early on the accelerator. The front end gives in and you just understeer wide. When that happens and you put all four wheels over the white line, it's an instant invalidation. Cam Tizzle making his way out of turn 13. Poor Cam, he was the central figure to the reason why we were so late beginning this race session. See, Bursey has got things to do, it seems, for the final part of this championship season. He's unable to attend the final few races, and Cam was given the role of hosting the lobbies as Drake jumps to the top of the 15.0. Cam sets a 16.1. Mr. Dempsey, if you're listening to the stream, I'll give you a target to try and beat. I've done an entire week of racing around this circuit here at Imola. Now, granted, they were sprint qualifying sessions, so the times aren't anywhere near as good. But the fastest time I've seen is a 14.7. But again, that was sprint qualifying. So not quite the same as what this session is. This track has been way more rubbed in compared to a sprint qualifying session. But yeah, no, that'll be a neat target to beat, a 14.7. How am I, Matty? I'm not too bad. As I mentioned before, I've done an entire week at this racetrack commentating. All of them sprint races as well. So I've been absolutely flat out when it came to commentary this week. It's a bit nicer to just have a qualifying session, move instantly into the race. It's a lot nicer this time around. Interesting as well, it's just overcast conditions. That was something else that was brought up in the Discord. There's been flash flooding in the area, so how is it not raining in the custom weather? Well, over the course of this weekend, it was meant to be nice and dry. It's just before that, it rained so hard that it caused flooding in the area. So the conditions are correct. It's meant to be dry throughout the weekend. Just beforehand, it rained hard enough that there's flooding around the racetrack, and as a result, Formula 1 pulled the pin on the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix for this year. Johnny Damon on the flying lap, making his way around turn 1 and up towards Variante Tamburello. Entry speed of 206 miles an hour indicated, bring it down to 4th gear through turns 2 and 3, and around turn 4 up towards Variante Villeneuve. Something else I absolutely love about this racetrack. It's got corner names. I love corner names. They're so much more interesting compared to just generic corner numbers. Out of the toes of Hampton, making his way up towards turn 8. And then Piratella turn 9. His fast left-hander. Down to 6th gear. He's modulating the brake and the throttle at the same time through there. You don't often see that. He makes his way through Aqua Minerale up the hill and around turn 13. A very tricky traction area of the racetrack. If you're not running traction control, turn 13 is a real tricky bit of racetrack because it's an uphill corner that's also a traction zone out of turn 12. So the back end does not have a lot of grip when you apply the accelerator. You can very easily lose control through there. Johnny Damon now makes his way back onto the main straight. Around the final corner, crossing the line, he jumps up to P5 in front of his sub-teammate Jules, who's about to begin a flying lap. Hello, Captain Jack. Nice to see you in the chat. Now, round turn 1, as someone's just improved. That was an Aston Martin. That must have been Aston Masters, I do believe. It was just improved. Jules making his way out of Tamburello and up towards Villeneuve. 7th gear. He'll drop it down to 6th gear through turn 5, down to, oh wow, he went down to 3rd, then back up to 4th, immediately after. Down to 1st, up to 2nd, up to 3rd, there we go, 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear. He'll make his way around turn 8, 7th gear, he'll drop it back down to 6th, no, down to 4th, then back up to 3rd. He's using all of the gearbox throughout this lap. 7th gear through 11, down to 3rd, down to 2nd, up to 3rd. Gee whiz, up to 4th, 5th, 6th gear. Gee whiz, this is like driving on F1 2019. It was like this back in 2019 where you really had to use every single gear available to you. Like if you went to a hairpin, you bring it all the way down to 1st gear, then you bring it up to like 3rd or maybe even 4th gear, so then you can try and get the traction at the exit of the corner. It's a very similar driving style. as he makes his way around the final turn, crosses the line, improves to P6, improves by 2.5 tenths on that lap. Drake Dempsey getting ready for a run. Why don't we ride on board with Mr. Dempsey? See how he fares on this flying lap with a little under 6 minutes left in qualifying. Around turn 1. Up towards Variante Tamburello, entry speed of 205 miles an hour, brings it down to 5th gear, through turn 3, and around turn 4, the left-hander, onto the short chute, that heads up towards Variante Villeneuve, 7th gear, down to 6th gear, down to 5th gear, through turn 6, up towards turn 7. At the 50-meter board, he brakes and brings it down to 4, gets back on the power, a very tidy exit out of the Toza hairpin. He'll make his way around turn 8 and up towards Piratella. Down to 6th gear, clips the apex, uses a plethora of turn on the outside without invalidating the lap, through Aqua Minerale, through turn 13, onto the back straightaway, up towards the middle sector split. The clock says he's up by almost 0.2 of a second. Through Variante Alta, see what I mean? You have to clobber the curve, touring car style through there, as he heads down the hill towards turn 16, and more importantly, Ravazza, turn 17 and 18. Eases to the apex by a little bit there at 17, flips the inside curve, uses a plethora of outside curves at turn 18, and he sets a 14.770. I do believe that was slightly quicker compared to the previous lap I've seen in another league, but again, that was sprint qualifying. So, that lap that I saw could have been a bit quicker a few days ago. There we go, 14.7, not a bad lap at all. And he disqualifies himself if he's starting from the back. A 14.7, yeah. And to give you an idea, the guy that I saw do a 14.7 earlier this week, his name is Ryan Bell. He's a reserve driver for the Alpine Esports team. Or at least was. So, but again, that was sprint qualifying. So the conditions weren't quite as good as what they are right now. Because somehow Codemasters managed to simulate that. So when you've got a sprint qualifying weekend, the qualifying session that you do is actually worse compared to a regular qualifying session. And that's because of a real life gimmick, where when you do qualifying on the Friday, there's less rubber on the racetrack, so there's less grip, compared to when you do qualifying on the Saturday. I can't believe Codemasters actually implemented that in. Like, they make the buggiest game in the world, but they keep that accurate? When it comes to a race weekend? It makes no sense to me. That's what they do. So, I ain't gonna question it. Mr. Damon here making his way out of Toza and up towards Piratella. Up to 7th gear, he'll drop it back down to 6th, back on the power. Again, utilising the brake and the throttle at the same time through that section, just like he did on the previous lap. Aqua Minerale, such a difficult part of the racetrack. So very fast and so easy to fall off the racetrack there as well and potentially spin out. Variante Alta, very tidy, except for the exit. Good spin though. Pretty solid spin, solid 8 out of 10. Would have been a 9 out of 10 if you kept it on the tarmac. But yeah, no, that was a pretty solid run through the chicane itself. On the exit though, the car just gave way. Car spins out and ruins the flying lap. I have to keep an eye then on Mr. Robbo if that's the case. Oh, the move. Alright. Our current championship leader. Let's see what he can do. Dempsey set a 14.7. What can Vermou do? Down to 5th gear through Tamburello. Making his way out to turn 4. To the short straight towards Variante Villeneuve. Entry speed of 196 miles an hour. Drops it down to 5th gear through turn 6. Heads up towards the Toza hairpin. He's up by 0.3 of a second to the first sector. Tidy exit out of the hairpin. They'll now climb up the hill, around the right-hand kink of turn 8, and then towards Piratella, turn 9. Down to 5th gear, back on the power. Very tidy run for Furitella. Not using as much curb as Dempsey, but tidy nonetheless. Maybe miss. Ooh. What was that? Was that a string freeze or something? What was that? Like his car stopped in the middle of Aqua Minerale for like 2 or 3 frames. And then he got going again. And he's backed out of the lap completely. He's trying to get some battery back. Get down the line for Haas. Any other traffic behind? Hello, Haas. Gonna get some battery back. Matty Robbo retires in the pit lane. Soft hard, Cam. I don't know about soft hard here at Imola. I usually go with the most conventional strategy of medium hard. That's what I usually do. Of course, if we have any safety cars during the race, I will tend to shake things up when it comes to strategy. So, not terribly sure if the soft hard would be a go-to ideal strategy here at Imola, as Cam jumps up to P2 with a 16.0. Preferred's making his way out of Aqua Minerale, over the crest and onto the back straightaway. He'll improve? No, he does not improve. He's lost a 10th overall, and he screwed over the lap at Variante Alta. So that's it. Qualifying done for Preferred. The best he can do is P3. Schulz is down by a fair chunk. So is Elite Game Boy. Vermouth up by 2/10 to the first sector. He'll make his way towards the second sector split. He's up by almost half a second. So he's not quite looking at a 14, but it will be a low 15. That'll be his pole time. I don't think anyone can realistically challenge that. Schulz was done. Game Boy's in the pits. I think Damon might be on a flying lap. We'll go and check on him in just a moment once Vermouth completes his lap. Opens DRS, heads up towards the line. He only improves by 3/10, so lost time in the final sector. He sets a 15.6. Johnny Damon, he's bailed on his lap, so has Schulz. So that's it, qualifying should be over. Vermouth is our pole sitter for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Cam Tezel will start alongside him on the front row. Preferred's in P3, followed by this man Schulz in 4th. Elite Game Boy rounds out the top 5. At 15, you think, Cam. I think that's fairly dependent on how good his start is, Mr. Dempsey. If Drake can get a good start, make up 4 or 5 positions after lights out, I think it will take a few less laps compared to 15. But it's all dependent on the start. Vermouth is our pole sitter for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Cam Tizzle will start alongside him on the front row in P2. Preferred is next in P3, followed by Schulz in 4th. Then we have Game Boy 5th, Johnny Damon 6th, followed by Acid Masters, Grim, Electric Blade, and Harris Flex rounds out the top 10. We have No Name starting 11th, with Matty Robbo in 12th after not setting a time. Drake Dempsey set the fastest time of the session with a 14.7, but he's disqualified himself and starting from the back. Okie dokie. Race time at Imola. It's going to be overcast the entire way through. We're not set to have any wet weather interference whatsoever. Well, there's something I've always believed in, Cam, is that field size has never dictated race quality. It's always possible to have a really interesting race, even with a small field. So, I'm still hopeful. But I'm not going to blind myself to the realism of this, that we've got a small field around a racetrack that isn't particularly well known for good side-by-side racing. And that's just purely because of the nature of the racetrack. But it's not impossible to have good races here. We can, especially strategy races. Strategy races tend to be very, very interesting to keep an eye on here at Imola. And it is still possible to pass. It's just only into one spot, and that's into Tamburello. You're not really going to make any other moves at any other part around the racetrack. Unless you've got a serious grip advantage and or pace advantage, e.g. Mr. Dempsey. So, alright, let's begin the formation lap. Who's on what tyre for the start of this Grand Prix? Okay, it's a bit of a mix and match. We got Vanu starting from pole position on the hard compound tyre. Cam Tizzle will start alongside him on the front row on the medium. Proposed starting P3 is on the hard tyre. Schulz in P4 is on the medium compound tyre. So is Elite Game Boy in P5 and Johnny Damon in P6. So both masters on the same strategy. Acid Masters starting P7 is on the hard tyre. Grim in P8 and Electric Blade in P9 are both starting on the medium. Then the following four cars, Harris Flex in P10, No Name in P11, Matthew Robbo in P12 and Drake Dempsey in P13 are all starting on the hard compound tyre. So we have 7 cars on the hards and 6 on the mediums, almost a 50-50 split. Very, very interesting. So those starting on the medium compound tyre, they need to be nice and aggressive at the start, try and make up positions early. And maybe pray for a well-placed safety car, particularly between lap 8 to lap 12. That's a really well-placed safety car for the medium runners. Because if there's a safety car within that window, they can pit onto the hard tyre and go to the end of the race. And they're going to have a massive advantage in terms of track position, as Harris, I believe, has just spun out at Variante Alta. They're going to have a massive advantage in terms of track position because the pit lane here at Imola is quite long. You do lose about 24-25 seconds in the pit lane. It is quite lengthy, even though the speed limit is at it's 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometers an hour. Still quite a lengthy pit lane. As No Name has spun, I believe that's No Name, it is No Name, has spun at Ravazza. So yeah, there's a pit window, lap 14 to 19 for the medium runners. So the medium tyre can go beyond the halfway mark, according to the game. So you can make it last a while. So there's options for both strategies here. It'll be interesting to see how they play out. Alright, all 13 cars are lined up ready to run. We've got 32 laps in front of us and 10 red lights. We're underway here at Imola. That was a long pause. It's a nice start from Vermouth. It's a mega start from Schulz. You know where really to go. Cam Tizzle trying to keep the fight alive around the outside, heading into Tamburello. Off the racetrack is Matty Robert. No, it's Harris in the other Williams off the racetrack there at Tamburello, and I think he's murdered all of the braking boards heading into turn 2. Out of the opening chicane, it's relatively tidy from everybody. Drake Dempsey down the inside of Schulz there at turn 5. He's already up to 5th position. In the opening sector, he's made up 8 spots. In the opening sector, he's made up 8 positions. Okie dokie. He's going to make up 9 in a minute. Round the outside. Around the outside at Aqua Minerale, he moves through into 4th. Granted, there was a lot of cooperation from Acid Masters, but still. He's made up 9 spots on the opening lap. This is what side by side. Damon, Harris, battling away. There's Grim just behind. P12. Oh, he's got nowhere to go. And Harris gets way out of the way of both cars. There's Grim up to P11, Johnny Damon up to 10th. Vanu leads the way by 1.2 seconds to Cam Tizzle in P2. Preferred P3, but I imagine not for long. Drake Dempsey closing in. He looks to the inside. Can't fully commit to a move heading into Tamburello. He stays behind. On the opening lap, he's made up 9 spots. Gee whiz. Up towards Variante Villeneuve. Game Boy under attack from both Schulz and Electric Blade as they head up towards the Toza hairpin. Oh, down the inside, Blade goes on Schulz. They're side by side on the exit, but a huge mistake down the inside from Blade. He lost control of the car. He had to back off, and he stays in P8. Through Piratella, down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. Johnny Damon on the back of No Name as well. So we've got a few battles here and there going on. Dempsey close, looking around the outside here at turn 14. Can't get it done through Variante Alta. Got a pretty tidy exit though. He's drawing alongside the Red Bull, heading down the hill towards Ravazza. Oh, gee whiz, that's close. He looks down the inside. Still can't quite get it done. With all this battling, the top two are driving away. A slide there from Profodes as he applies the power out of Ravazza. Down the main straightaway. It's now lap 3 of 32. Dempsey in the slipstream. Pulls out of it, draws alongside. Looking down the inside, heading into Tamburello. He outbrakes Profodes and gets in front. He moves himself into P3. Behind Acid Masters closing in. That's thanks to all the battling that was going on between Dempsey and Profodes. Just behind them, Game Boy. He was very close to putting it into the gravel trap there at the exit of Villeneuve. Look at Acid Masters right on the back of Profodes. Closing in thanks to the slipstream. Heading into Piratella, turn 9. There's Dempsey. There's Profodes and Aston Masters. Game Boy looked a bit wide there at Piratella. Through Aqua Minerale, turn 12 and 13, up the hill, over the crest. There's your top 3, and here's the battle for 4th, heading into Variante Alta. Clobbering over the curves. Very tidy run there from Aston Masters. Game Boy just lingering behind, watching along. He is on the medium compound tyre, so is Electric Blade. Contact! Oh my goodness me! Contact at turn 16 of all places. Blade looking down the inside, Game Boy keeping it tight, and the two make contact. Two spin and plummet down to last. Race leader Vermouth enjoying life out in front. Can Tizzle in second, Dempsey in third. Preferred still hanging on to P4. Aston Master still within a second, but behind a battle on for P7. Grem, Damon, No Name, and Matty Robbo in P10. Forming a train here, 4-car train, heading through Variante Villeneuve and up towards Toza. Tidy exit from Grim. Grim, he's on the mediums, I believe. Yes, he is. Same with Johnny Damon behind. No Name and Matty Robbo, they're on the hard compound tyre. So they're going to have a bit of a tough time trying to pass the two cars in front. From Minerale up the hill round turn 13, then up towards Variante Alta. No really in any sort of position to battle just yet. Acid Masters still within 1 second for Profodes, so this battle isn't over for P4. Meanwhile, Mr. Dempsey is closing in on Ken Tizzle as he makes his way out of Ravazza. Here we go onto the main straight. DRS open. Dempsey will close in here and set fastest lap with an 18.8. Round turn 1, up towards Tamburello. Through the chicane, nice and steady as Damon gets by Grim. That's for P7. Grim down to 8th, but he's not challenged by his teammate. So he'll stay in that position. No Name a bit too far behind to do anything here. Matty Robbo, has he got enough pace to try and pass the Mercedes-Benz in front? It's going to be tough. Imola, not an easy racetrack to try and pass. Around Piratella, down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. The gap is 0.3 of a second between P2 and 3. Through turn 12, round turn 13, onto the back straightaway towards Variante Alta. Just not quite close enough to do anything just yet. Look at that, clobbering over the curves with such confidence. Down the hill towards turn 16, then towards Ravazza. Close, it is very close, and Drake should get by pretty easily here. Cam, he doesn't do himself any favours. A 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Closing in, drawing alongside, moving in front. Cam can't do much about it. Dempsey's to second. Martin still keeping the pressure up. Johnny Damon with Grim right behind him is hanging on to P7 right now. He makes his way out of Variante Tamburello. Gaps are starting to spread out here and there. Hopefully, after a little while, if we get closer towards the pit windows opening, that the strategies come together later in the race. Again, everybody's starting to spread out already. Dempsey, though, is closing in on the race leader. This is expected. Makes his way down the hill towards Ravazza. The gap shrinks to under a second, so he will get DRS to play with. Oh, and the 50 board's missing. That is quite frustrating for anyone who doesn't have a line. A racing line, that is. Because that 50 board is pretty much the ideal braking spot heading into Ravazza. Drake sets a new fastest lap with an 18.3. In fact, I believe most of the braking boards here are missing as well. Except for the 100 board, and that's probably the most important board to have. You're kidding. Oh, how lucky is that? Because I did see Harris go off the racetrack and take out a couple of those boards. Thankfully, the 100 board is still there. Hello, Cody. Nice to see you in the chat. Another race at Imola I have to do. I've already done 3 this week. This will be my 4th and final. Oh, a bit wide there from Vermeulen. Got caught on the outside curb. Yellow's out. It's Harris spinning at the exit of Toza. Vermeulen hanging on to the race lead. Not going to be for long though. Drake's going to eat him up very, very quickly. Oh, and a spin for his teammate, Matty Robbo. Just like Harris Plex has spun out, but this time at turn 13. He's now down to P11. Oh, and Harris has spun again at Piratella. DRS open. Here comes the McLaren. No, it didn't take him too long. As expected. Through turn 2. Down turn 3. Removes missing apexes. Harris is spinning. Contact! Oh my word! The leaders make contact. They spin. They get going. Cam has taken the lead. Oh my goodness me. Drake lets Remove through. There's a bit of a sorry message there. I didn't mean to do that. Just a little bit of contact heading through turn 4. And somehow they both get out of that pretty unscathed. That could have been, arguably should have been, a lot worse. They all get out of it. Cam takes the lead. Now proposed and Acid Masters are right on the back of both Vermeulen and Drake Dempsey. As Harris retires, I believe he's done that in the pit lane. Yeah, his car's moving in the pit, so he's done for the day. Grim round the outside of Johnny Damon heading into Variante Alta, and he moves in front. Wow, not a bad move right there around the outside. He had to be committed on the brakes, committed with the tyres as well. Needed to have faith in them that they would grip up. Yeah, I reckon Cam probably would have liked them both in the wall. That way he wouldn't have to worry about them. But, oh hello, there's a Williams making their way out of the pits. Of course the AI still doesn't need to. Of course it doesn't. Johnny Damon getting by Grim. That's at Tamburello. Moves back in front into 7th position. Alright. Vermeulen versus Dempsey, take 2. Make our way through the Toza hairpin. 3/10 separate the 2 drivers. Sector 1 yellows. That is Electric Blade spinning out at the exit of Tamburello. Oh dear. Actually, he gained 9 spots on the opening lap. He was up to P4 by the end of that one. He made 8 spots in the first sector, and then he made an extra. Oh, and off the circuit goes Vermeulen. Well, there we go. Another place for Mr. Dempsey there. Or maybe not. Vermeulen's fighting this one. Maybe he's turned on the battery. I might bring up the telemetry now. 43%. Vamu hangs on to P2. But yes, if memory serves me right, he overtook a pass to move himself into P4. Made up 9 spots on the opening lap. Started 13th, made his way up to 4th. Electric Blade, a 3-second time penalty. So both Alpines being naughty boys out on track, getting time penalties. Not a good thing. Or again, they're close. Heading up towards Villeneuve. Dempsey, I reckon he thought about a move here, but the chicane's a bit too quick to go side by side through. No dive bomb into Tozer either, as Blake gets a penalty for speeding and retires from the session. We're down to 11. Cam out in front, leading the way. He's got 2 seconds to Vamu, who is hanging on to second place, just about. Going through Aqua Minerale, through turn 12, through turn 13. Over the crest, up the hill. Drake's got a run. Looking round the outside here at Variante Alta. Can't outbrake the Ferrari. Grimm gets a 3-second time penalty. Vamu hangs on to second. Down the hill towards Ravazza. Blades now left the session. Round turn 17 we go. Towards turn 18. Up to 4th gear. 5th gear. 6th gear. DRS open on Dempsey's car. There won't be much here that Vamu can do. Dempsey moves into 2nd position. Vamu down to 3rd. The best thing he can do is just stay within a second of Drake. Try and keep DRS down the main straight. Yellow's out. It's a Elite Game Boy spinning at the exit of Ravazza. Almost said Electric Blade. The Blade isn't in the race anymore. This battle's still going on between Damon and Grimm. Grimm's still within a second of the Haas driver, so this isn't over between these two. And Schulz has now caught on to the back of Acid Masters, who has dropped away from Profode. So we've got a battle on for P5. Vamu is still within a second of Drake, and Drake is closing in on Cam, so we might have a 3-car fight for the lead here coming up as we go through Variante Alta down to 4th gear, back on the power. Trying to run out of the chicane. Using a bit of battery as well to make sure he's within a second. Oh, as Profode's spun. That's at Variante Alta. I thought someone might have retired from the race. No, Harris left the session whilst Profode spun. So Profode's down to 8th. Harris has left the lobby. We've got a battle on for the race lead, as Vamu must have made a mistake. He's now 1.7 seconds behind. So he must have made a mistake through Ravazza. It's cost him plenty of time. Out of turn 4, down towards Variante Villeneuve. Through the chicane. Nice and easy from both cars. There's really not much Drake can do throughout the rest of the racetrack. He just has to be patient until he gets DRS so he can slingshot by down the main straight. And the guy's talented as Dempsey is, he really can't find a way to fight through this middle sector. He really just can't. Because you have to be patient, wait for your moment, and then strike down the main straight. Oh, I think that might have been an itty-bitty touch there between Dempsey and Cam. They were very, very close. Down, oh, and well, Cam said, mate, I can't battle you, go for it. So on lap 12, Drake takes the lead for the first time in this race. Taking him 12 laps to do it. Cam closing in, looking around the outside here at Tamburello, but to no surprise, he doesn't fully commit to the move. Probably didn't have enough momentum to really pull it off anyway. He elects to wisely back off and just stick him behind Drake. Oh, this is touch and go here through Tamburello. Grimm and Profode side by side at turn 2. It was very awkward. I don't think they made contact. They just forced each other wide. Profodes was down the inside at turn 2. He might have outbroke himself. And Grimm, as a response, was forced out wide into the gravel. Fortunately, he rejoined without spinning the car. Jules on the back of Acid Masters, down the hill around Aqua Minerale, then through turns 12 and 13. A little bit of battery on the back straight away, heading towards the chicane. Down to second, short shift up to third gear, slobbering over that inside curve there at turn 15, using absolutely all of it. Down the hill, into Ravazza, down to second gear, short shifts up to third. Using all of the gears, he went to fourth and back down to third, then back up to fourth again. In the matter of a second, as Cam Pitt said, he'll move onto the hard compound tyre. Schulz will move through into what is provisional P3. Grimm is in the pit lane as well. And there we are. Schulz onto the podium, Acid Masters down to fourth. Meanwhile, Cam on the hard, same with Grimm. They're leaving the pit lane. Elite Game Boy is into the pits as well as he speeds into pit lane. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat, the pit speed limit line comes at you really quick and Game Boy retires from the session. Oh, goodness me. Acid Masters has moved back by Schulz. Alright. So either Schulz made a mistake or Acid Masters got a mega run through the first sector. The Aston Martin driver gets back in front. Onto the back straight away towards Variante Alta. You bring it down from 7th gear down to 2nd. Oh, he loses it. Great catch there. The back end of the car stood out from him. As he applied the accelerator, he managed to snap the car back into a straight line. Keep going, but he's lost a fair chunk of time to Acid Masters, and now he's potentially vulnerable to his teammate, Johnny Damon, who's within a second of him. Into the pits goes Schulz, so Damon stays out, doesn't want a double stack. So he makes the right call. Is it the undercut or the overcut that's more effective here at Imola? At least in this race with overcast conditions. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Damon picks in the very next lap. Oh, down to 10 cars. All of them voluntary retirements. We have more people watching. We have people still competing. Dear oh dear. Well, thank you everyone for your patronage watching this stream at the moment. Doing the best that I could do. At the moment, the race is looking pretty straightforward right now. Dempsey leading the way. Renew in second, gap increasing as you'd expect. The move's got a really comfortable margin to those behind. It'll be interesting to see where Cam comes out in all of this, of course. He's on an alternate strategy compared to the move. But we know how quick the move is. Going to be a pretty tough thing for Cam to beat Vermeulen in this race, especially with the time penalty now next to his name. I imagine Damon will be pitting in here. Yeah, there we go. Need to pull it up early. Look at that, well done. Because yeah, that speed limit line comes at you pretty fast. You need to brake a bit earlier than you think. It's like racetracks such as Silverstone and Zandvoort. Zandvoort's a very fast entry. You need to make sure you brake early for that. Jules is coming out of Ravazza, so keep an eye on the other white dot that's leaving the pit lane. On the main straight. Still in the pit, still in the pit, still in the pit. There's Damon making his way out. So the overcut has worked for now. You've got to remember though, Johnny's on cold tyres. See, he missed the apex at turn 2. He's slowed through 3. Jules closes in. He draws alongside his teammate. Looking down the inside into Villeneuve, and he moves through. So initially, the overcut works, but the cold tyres slow you down so much that he was completely defenseless to Schulz, as No Name gets a 3-second time penalty. So Schulz into P8, Johnny Damon 9th. They're set to go to the end. Same with Cam Tizzle. He's got plenty of battery, he hasn't used a bit of it, so he's driving quite well right now. Doesn't want to use up his resources, he wants to use them up later on in the race when it matters most. The 5-second margin over Acid Masters, making his way through Variante Calambarello. Yeah, the key gap I suppose to keep an eye out for will probably be between Vermoo and Cam. See if Cam's undercut works. Drake minding his own business out in front. And Imola's the kind of racetrack you can go 50-50 with the strategy, so Drake and anyone else on the hard tyre could potentially pit in this lap. Move on to a set of mediums and take those to the end of the race. Completely up to them. Damon has Grim closing in. These two have been battling all the way throughout this race. And they're still within a second of each other. So Grim is low on battery. So is Johnny Damon. So it's even Stevens between these two. Greg stays out, so does Vermoo. Acid Masters, does he pit? No, is the answer. He's still going long. Preferred staying out. Matty Robbo coming around Ravazza, currently P5. He doesn't pit either, so these hard runners, they're still running. They want to use the track position they've gained with the alternate strategy. Try and keep up a consistent pace. And here Grim, an opportunity to try and battle. Using up his battery, he's got DRS. And Damon passed pretty quick down the straight, it seems. On turn one, up towards Tamburello. Grim's Mercedes just doesn't have the straight line performance to try and challenge Johnny Damon right now. Through Variante Villeneuve. 7/10 of a second separating these two, and Damon's close to within a second of his substitute teammates, so might have a battle on for P8, a 3-car battle for P8 as Vermoo pits in. An eye out for that light blue dot making their way through the final sector. That is Cam Tizzle. Vermoo will get out in front of him quite healthily on those mediums. Maybe much of a contest? Oh no, maybe it will be. I really need to get how long this pit lane is at Imola. There he is. So it was close. Man, that's a long pit lane. Remember, Vermoo has cold tyres. They're not going to have a lot of grip. They will get up to temperature quicker compared to a hard tyre. See through the chicane, Cam so much faster. Closes right onto the back of Vermoo. Looks to the inside, dives it in. Vermoo leaves the door wide open. Another drag race up the hill towards turn 8. And more importantly, Piratella. Cam with the inside line. He gets in front. He moves into P4. Oh, that pit lane is long. That pit lane is real long. Around Variante Alta. Clobbering over the curves. Gap sits at 4/10 as Acid Masters pits in. Around Ravazza, turn 17 and 18 on the racetrack. Matty Robbo is in the pit. Vermoo using his battery. He's got DRS. Got a bit of slipstream as well. Here we go, down the inside at turn 1. Vermoo moves through into second position. Cam moves back down to third. Acid Masters making his way out of the pits. There is Schulz in the half. It's a bit of a similar story as it was with Vermoo and Cam. Acid on cold tyres, Schulz on warm tyres. There's an obvious pace difference. Make our way into Variante Villeneuve. Look at that. The difference in braking performance as Schulz almost throws it away. Around the toes of hairpin. Profotes is right behind as well on cold tyres. Actually, no, he's 1 lap old, so his tyres should be okay by this point. Drake Dempsey into the pits as well to move off those hards and onto a set of mediums. Through Aqua Minerale. Those medium compound tyres should be up to temperature by now. Can Schulz find a way through? He needs a really tidy run through here, through Variante Alta. Or maybe a bit wide. He loses time. Time he can't afford to lose. The gap increases to 7.5 tenths. Acid Masters tyres should be nice and warm now. They should be operating well. With that gap, it's still increasing 9 tenths of a second. So Schulz will have DRS, but I do not believe he'll be close enough to try and battle Acid Masters into Tamburello. It seems that I'm going to be right. Profos is closing in. He's looking to the inside, heading into Variante Tamburello. Schulz put up a fair fight around the outside there at turn 2, but he just couldn't hang on. Tyre difference is too much to overcome. Schulz moves down to P6. Profos into the top 5. Johnny Damon is closing in on this battle as well. We're going to have a bit of a battle between the two Haas's, potentially, and maybe even Mercedes or Grimm. Out of Piratella and down the hill to attack. Oh my goodness! Schulz has had a huge spin! A massive spin at Piratella! Oh my word, that came completely out of the blue. It's like he slipped on a banana peel. He's all the way down to 9th position, 10th position. Now with that spin. What on earth happened there? It's like he went over an oil slick or something. He just spun. He's all the way down in 10th place after that. There's no way he's going to recover to where he once was. No way, unless there's a safety car. Might be able to make up a few spots. Got No Name you can try and close up on. No Name does have a time penalty as well of 3 seconds next to his name. So it might not be a 10th place finish for Schulz, but he's definitely not finishing anywhere near the top 5. Oh, what a shame. Well, that battle between the Haas's is no longer a thing. The battle we might have is between Johnny Damon and Grimm in the Mercedes-Benz. Although Grimm, with that time penalty, the battle's ultimately meaningless. It's all for pride more than anything, as Cam gets a 3-second time penalty. That should be 6 seconds now for Cam. It is. Drake out in front, setting new fastest laps. And Schulz now gets a 3-second time penalty. Well, he's just made life a bit more difficult for himself. He has to catch up to No Name now. And No Name's on medium compound tyres that are 4 laps fresher. So the likelihood of Schulz catching up now is fairly minimal. Around the toes ahead to turn 7. Drake putting together a fast and clean race, as you'd expect. Minus that shunt between himself and Vermeulen that happened at Tamburello that somehow didn't result in a massive accident. I have no idea how that didn't result in a massive accident. Look how ludicrously quick you have to go through Aqua Minerale. That is insane. And the fact that the real-life drivers do that is just incredible. The amount of G-forces you have to put up with, and the amount of concentration you must have. You need to sight the apex at 11, because if you don't, you're going to miss the corner by a mile. But you also have to prepare yourself to look towards the apex of turn 12, with an entry speed up and over 180 miles an hour. And then you've got to worry about the traction zone heading up through turn 13, the left hand. Formula 1 drivers are just not given enough credit for driving these machines. Those drivers are just absolutely insane. Like, it's easy enough for us to say, yeah, we can hit our marks. We can do all that. Well, they do it while putting up with the forces of nature. Putting up with the G-forces, wind blowing into your face, potentially rain, or just sheer heat. A proper athlete, anyone who says otherwise is a dingleberry, and Schulz retired from the session, so we're not going to have 10 finishes for this race, we're going to have 9. Oh, and Damon has spun. Well, it's not... Oh, a severe collision penalty. for Johnny Damon. What? But he's the one that spun. Why would he get a severe collision penalty? Or did he spin and Grimm hit him and Damon's been awarded a penalty? Or did Grimm hit Damon, causing him to spin out and Damon got a penalty? I don't know. I'm not going to hurt my brain trying to work out that stuff. As Acid Masters gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Here comes No Name down the inside. He had a look, but he wisely backs off. You really do not want to send it down the inside of Variante Alta. That never works. Oh, it's disappointing that time penalties get in the way here. Because this might have been a fairly interesting battle between Acid Masters and Profodes. As Drake himself now gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He is human. As we go through Variante Villeneuve and up towards the Toza hairpin. Profodes, he can try and battle Acid Masters. It'll make it a very interesting watch, but we ultimately know he wins, so long as he doesn't give himself a 3-second time penalty. Curatella, down the hill, Aqua Minerale. See, at entry speed of 176 miles an hour. Into turn 11. And they go through in compression through turn 11. Then they have to get on the brakes, get it pulled up for 12, and then get back on the power and basically baby the car up the hill through turn 13. Whilst, again, putting up with the forces of nature. Formula 1 drivers just aren't given enough credit for how good they are. Even the bad ones that we make fun of. The fact that they can do that stuff is quite remarkable. For folks, here we go. Game on here for P4 on track. Around the outside, heading into Tamburello. It's a done. Tidy move. P4 is his. Acid Masters down to P5. No Name closing in on Johnny Damon. See Damon's low on battery. No Name. Well, he's not doing much better, to be completely fair. But it just might be game on between these two. Matty Robbo is set to take an extra position thanks to Grimm's time penalty. As Schulz has now left the session, he's had enough. Through Piratella, down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. Chucking it through 11. Winding back up the hill through turn 12. And towards Variante Alta. Very tidy run through there, using plenty of curb. Grimm, he used plenty of curb and then some. He went off the racetrack there into the runoff area. So we might have a little on-track battle between Grimm and Matty. We head out of turn 18 and down the main stretch. And we should get by relatively easily here. DRS open, closing in down the main straight. Heading up towards turn 1. Where will he look? Inside? Oy! Easy. Almost making wheel-to-wheel contact there at turn 1. That could have been that could have turned into a big oopsie if they weren't careful. Fortunately, they were careful enough, and there wasn't a big oopsie. And Matty Robbo moves into P6. Grimm gets demoted down to P7. Mr. Dempsey still out in front. Still doing Dempsey things because he's Dempsey. He now begins lap 28. We have got 5 laps to go here at Imola. He's got a 14-second margin over Vermeulen, which is more than comfortable. Drake even has a time penalty next to his name that he really doesn't have to worry about. Unless, of course, there's a safety car late in the race. That would spice things up when it came to penalties. Cam occupying P3, a bit of a similar story to Drake. Far enough ahead from Profodes that he doesn't really have to worry. Profodes has to work quite hard to try and catch up to Cam. And unfortunately for him, he's got to worry about the Aston Martin and his wing mirrors as Aston Masters closes in. Not high enough to go for the move at Tamburello. He stays behind. Stays behind Captain Coles. Very tidy run up the hill through 13. And up towards Variante Alta, the gap's still increasing between the top two. The gap's decreased a little bit between Cam and Profodes. Gap's shrunk to 8.8 seconds, so seems Profodes has got pace left on his tyres. Chipping away at the gap. It's not going to be enough though. The only thing that can stop Cam getting a podium is a safety car or him making a mistake. I'm sure he knows that. He's driving the car within the limits, trying not to make a mistake. Tamburello. Got now 15 seconds between the top two. Drake out in front, cruising right now. Surprised that isn't a warning. Absolutely flat through turn 11. Oh, gee whiz. As he applies the power, he gets the tail of the car to step out through turn 13. Unsurprisingly, he controls the slide and gets it pointed back in the right direction. Down the hill towards Ravazza. Sector 1, yellows. It's Johnny Damon who has spun. Oh, dearie me. It's going from bad to worse for the Haas team. Spin at Variante Villeneuve and a spin at Tamburello. Damon's down to 9th place. So long as he finishes, it's points. Oh, that doesn't help. A spin at Villeneuve again. Once again, he gets pointed back in the right direction. There is Drake Dempsey in the distance, closing in at a rate of knots. As we head up towards the Tosa hairpin. If I'm not mistaken, ghosting is not turned on for lap cars, so if Damon starts getting blue flags, he will have to obey them and get out of the way. Around Piratella, down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. Down to 4th, back on the power. Very tidy. Variante Alta. Hovering over the curves. There we go. Danny gets way out of the way. We want penalties, Inc. Yeah, Vemu, Preferred, Matty. Boys, you're letting down everybody else. Oh, Damon gets a penalty for speeding and he retires. Well, I think he will be classified. He's within the 90% range, so I do believe he will be classified. But to think, throughout this race, we've had 5 voluntary retirements. 5. We had 13 and 5 voluntary retirements. It makes me question a lot of things, man. Two to go for Mr. Dempsey. Well, really 1.5. On his way through Aqua Minerale. Been a typical Drake Dempsey display. Keeping it tidy, keeping it just about within the limits. He does have a time penalty next to his name. But he'll head around Ravazza for the second last time, make his way down the main straight. He will now begin the final lap, lap 32 of 32 here at Imola. The final 3.1 miles of this Grand Prix. The new 17 seconds behind. He'll cruise around for one final lap. He'll take second place. Score a very helpful 18 points, which will put him 19 in front of his rival Barmer. Incredibly unlucky that Barmer wasn't able to attend today, as Matty Robbo gets a 3-second time penalty. So we're just 2 away from penalty bingo. And actually, now that I've noticed it, Propose is almost within 6 seconds of Cam, so we might have a battle on for the final podium place. So a bit of drama here at the end of the Grand Prix. Propose has worked hard. He's able to utilise the pace of those mediums, and he's closed the gap down. Alright, let's keep an eye on these two for a bit then. Well, Cam has opened up the gap a bit more in the first sector. It's increased to 6.3 seconds. So Propose needs to turn on the taps here in the middle sector, try and close down the gap. Still 6.4 as we head through Piratella. Flooring the accelerators down the hill as Dempsey's won the Grand Prix. He's that far out in front. He's just won the Grand Prix. Gee whiz. That is a big gap. Vermeulen will come home in P2. Can he hang on to third? The gap's at 0.3 of a second. It's starting to shrink as Propose goes through the final sector. It needs to be a tidy run out of Ravazza here for Cam. Looks pretty tidy. Can Propose go quicker? 6.1 is the gap. Exiting. A big slide. It will cost him time. Cam will hang on to third place then here at Imola. Propose just misses out. Acid Masters 5th, followed by Matty Robbo in 6th, Grim 7th, and No Name finishing P7 and P8. There we are. The end of a race. Race had some interesting bits in it, but what you'd expect from the last most of the time. Driver of the day, no surprises there. He started 13th and he was up to P4 at the end of lap 1. AM0, yeah, quite right. Quite right, he needs to be an AM0. Oh, was the game bugged out for you, Matty? Oh, that's not surprising, though, is it? So there we are. The podium finishes here at Imola. Drake Dempsey is the race winner. Vermeulen comes home in second. Cam Tizzle will hang on to a podium finish in third. The unofficial results then of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Drake Dempsey is a race winner with fastest lap as well, taking a full complement of points here at Imola. Vermeulen will come home in second, scoring 18 points in the Drivers' Championship, extending his lead to 19 points over Farmer 22 in the Drivers' Championship. Completing the podium places is Cam Tizzle of the qualifying second and finishes on the podium in third. Outside of the podium places we have Propose in P4, followed by Acid Masters in 5th and Matty Robbo in P6. Then the two Mercedes of Grim and No Name in P7 and 8. Johnny Damon is classified in 9.4 laps down after voluntarily retiring. Schulz, Game Boy, Electric Blade and Harris Flex all did the same thing. 5 voluntary retirements, 9 classified finishes, 8 finishes on track, and 1 Drake Dempsey, our race winner of the Grand Prix. Oh. Well, that was certainly a race. I can say that with absolute certainty. It was a race. That happened. Really not much to add on top of that. Honestly. I can't think of much. I'm a bit bewildered why so many people retired in pit lane knowing that top 10 score. Yeah, I don't really get it. But anyway, that's their call. It's their choice. Oh, man, this has been a long week. It's been a very long week. I'm glad it's all over. Because it's all been Imola. It's all been the same racetrack. I've been oversaturated with Imola. I need to go and watch something else. Fortunately, in the real world of motorsport, we got plenty on. Over here in Australia, we got the Tasmanian Super Sprint over at Sidmouth Plains. That'll be fun. But more importantly, over in continental Europe, where you lot are from, 24 Hours of Nürburgring is on this weekend, which I'm definitely going to watch. Big fan of GT racing. I'm definitely going to peep a few hours of that race. I imagine it's going to be quite a lot of fun. Big field as well, plenty of GT3 cars, there's a ton of Carrera Cup in that race. I saw the field, there's like 18, 19 Carrera Cup cars in there. So that should be a lot of fun. But I think, folks, with the race done, it's time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching. And we'll see you next week for round 15 of the AM1 Championship at the Marina Bay Street Circuit for the Singapore Grand Prix. Although, considering attendance numbers as of late, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see many for Singapore. But if we have enough, we'll see you then. But until next week, it's goodbye.